Hey, I'm Jay Kumar, the Bass Blaster, and this is your Seafoam and Kistler top 5 of the week in bass fishing. Number 1.
Hatfield.
No, you read that wrong, Robin. It was Nick Hatfield who won the MLF Heavy Hitters on Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia last week. Now, Nick's a second-year Bass Pro Tour pro who's gotten some top 5s, but not a win until he sniffed out a bunch of fish on a couple of boat-blown points. Now, here's what I mean. In the MLF catch-em-all format, you either have to have a bunch of spots, or better yet, 1 or 2 key spots that constantly reload. Now, Nick found 2 points on an S-turn of the lake, which meant it was narrower there, which meant a lot of boat traffic and boat wakes. Now, what he thinks happened is all those boat waves kept pushing the shad and herring up onto those points and turning on the bass. It wasn't like they were on all day, but when they were on, they were on. I guess that's why he beat Justin Lucas by almost 13 pounds. Now, Nick fished a variety of baits over the tournament, partly because of conditions, partly because he was fishing the same groups of fish over and over, and partly because he was just figuring them out better. His main baits were a big jig head minnow, which we'll talk about more in number 2, a free rig with a variety of green pumpkin soft plastics, the new Megabass Vision 110 SR, which stands for shallow runner jerkbait, and a Japanese lipless bait. He also fished a small jig. Now, I'm not sure if you could tell by those baits, but Nick is a big-time student of Japanese bass fishing, and I think it all goes back to when he heard this tune for the first time.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, domo.
Domo arigato. All right, the guys were allowed to use forward-facing sonar all day, every day in this one. Now, Nick said he used it to find his fish in the first place and to see where they were positioned, but not to really watch fish eat his bait. He did catch a couple that way, but he stopped doing it because he said most of the time when he tried that, he would miss the fish. All the guys also had to fish out of MLF-provided boats, which might have messed up the whole forward-facing sonar thing a little bit too. Anyhow, for anyone who said Nick winning this thing would be like seeing Brian May of Queen play guitar for a koala bear, how about this? All right, no one really said that. Number 2. Are you ready for some minnow juice? That's right, it's gonna be that hot. Or I guess I should say cold, because that's funky cold Medina and foreigner. Anyhow, let's talk about some of the finer points of Nick Hatfield's jig and minnow setup that helped him win the MLF Heavy Hitters at Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia. Now, the first thing to bear in mind is that Nick is a huge student of Japanese bass fishing, which is probably why he used 2 big Japanese minnows on that rig.
Looks real big.
How big?
Hey, a quick deal. Did you know that Radar on MASH is the father of Bassmaster Opens pro Miles Berghoff? That's why Miles' nickname is Sonar. His dad Radar, he's Sonar, you get it? Okay. Anyhow, Nick was fishing some big 7-inch minnows, which is why that 3/16 ounce Scottsboro Hellfire jig head looks so small. Why that big? Well, he said he was throwing 4 and 5-inch minnows in practice, and the fish would follow all the way back to the boat, but would never commit. So he tried 7-inch baits, including one that rhymes with smack a lot of plaid, and he caught 3 fish and 3 casts, a 6.5, a 4, and a 3. Done deal. Now, he was slinging those big baits on a relatively small rod, a 6.5-foot Megabass Destroyer Whippet. Nick said it is the best jig head minnow rod he's ever used. And while it might look nuts to us to use such a small whippy rod, he said Japanese anglers actually prefer that because it lets the bait roll more and it gives him more control. He said he would work it real fast with that rod tip up and... All right, and the last of the Nick Juicy Juice on this deal is his realization that fluorocarbon leaders shouldn't be thought of as fluoro, but as leaders like fly fishermen and saltwater guys do. He says that since he started using this Cortland XTR fluoro leader material, very short too, like less than 4 feet, his leaders last 10 times as long. That heavier, shorter leader also allows them to hit them hard on the hook set with spinning gear, just like the Japanese guys do. There you have it, some Nick Minnow juice. Thanks a bunch, Nick. Number 3. For weeks leading up to the Sabine River Bassmaster Elite Series event, Pat Schlapper would have these weird dreams involving javelinas on senderos, also known as little pigs on dirt roads. He had no idea what it could possibly mean until he got to the Sabine. All right, dirt roads? Let's let Gerald Swindle tell it.
I seen 2 gadwalls land in the Trinity and both of them twisted to ankles.
Yeah, that's right. And the little pigs? Well, even though the Sabine is notoriously stingy, it might have been even tougher this time. It had only baby pigs like this, and this. But Pat's little pigs, I don't know how long I can keep this pig thing going. But anyway, Pat's little pigs were bigger than the rest of the guys' pigs. Can't keep doing this. He won with 20 fish for just 38 pounds, 12 ounces. In other words, less than 10 pounds a day. But hey, he weighed the most in the toughest tournament of the year.
Wire to wire, and Schlapper seals the deal on the Sabine River.
Not sure he did anything different to catch him, but he did focus on one area and milk it for all it was worth. It had a couple key spots. One was overhead pipes that had poles coming down with brush on them. And he had a key buzzbait spot where on the final day he caught 4 good fish in 10 minutes to seal the deal.
Good one.
His main baits were a 3/8 ounce Do-It Molds compact finesse jig with a big bite baits chunk in sapphire blue, a drop shot at 4.5 inch robo worm in Folkstad Special, and a 3/8 ounce Brazalo, is that how you say it? Bushwhacker buzzbait with a gold blade and a black big bite baits tour toad. He said he's tested a ton of buzz baits and he loves this one. He shouted it out even though he's not sponsored by him. Now, I believe this is the first Elite Series event this year where forward-facing sonar basically didn't play at all. And lo and behold, some well-known forward-facing sonar guys like Kiyoyo Fujita and Taku Ito finished in the top 10.
Go figure.
Hey, we already did, Tom. Pat figured it out the best, and on the way out, he was like, Number 4.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
All right, whoever said that definitely was not talking about Ben Milliken, who seems to be the master of every trade, except maybe plumbing. I have no idea about that. So anyhow, if you don't know who he is, Ben is a great teacher / YouTuber, a giant bass hunter and catcher, and a bait developer for the company he co-owns, Sixth Sense. And if that ain't enough, he's shown himself to be a top competitor after qualifying for the Elite Series and doing well there. Anyhow, one of the bait types that Ben is known for and helps Sixth Sense develop are big swim baits. He and I got to talking about those at the Bassmaster Classic this year, specifically whether it was possible to fish them around all the trash fish that were in that lake. Now, I asked him if a big swim bait would draw the bass out of a pile of fish, and he dropped some gold. Here it is.
Yeah, you'll probably pull every single one of them out of there. So for tournaments, that's one thing I talk about in Bass University when I do their stuff is it's totally different approach for me. Like when fun fishing, I'm throwing the big bait in there the first cast, try to catch the biggest fish in the group. But in tournament fishing, I'm trying to pick them apart with other stuff first, and then I'll go in with the glide bait afterwards. Because when you throw that big bait into a group of fish, even if it's only 2 or 3 fish, you're going to pull every single one of them. If they bite it and don't get stuck, if they just chase it, you're going to pull every fish off that piece of cover, structure, whatever it may be. And then you're in trouble. You got to move spots. So a little bit different in tournaments.
Is that good stuff or what? I was like,
I have found enlightenment.
Number 5. I'm not sure if you caught the latest Bassmaster T&Z podcast where Tommy Sanders and Zona talk about the Elite Series fishermen voting on whether to change the forward-facing sonar regulations for 2026. Z says right now it looks to be a 70-30 split on the tournaments, meaning 70% with forward-facing sonar and 30 without. I think that's what he said, or maybe it was 70-30 fishermen. Anyhow, if it's the events, that's, according to my math, 6 1/3 events with it and 2 2/3 without it.
Teach him some math.
I think I got to teach myself some math. Anyhow, my 2 cents on this deal, for whatever that's worth, is that this discussion about forward-facing sonar and next year, of course, is good and important. But looking at forward-facing sonar as an endpoint and not technology as a whole might be a mistake. What do I mean? Well, all you got to do is pay attention to what all these other people are banging a drum about outside fishing. Okay, banging a gong too. Like this, and this, and this, and this. And those are only 4 headlines. So in other words, it isn't just about forward-facing sonar, it's about whether technology, which is moving this fast, it's whatever technology is going to become, and for sure it's going to be way beyond forward-facing sonar at some point. So where is the line in the sand going to be? Maybe that should be the discussion. How much is too much technology? And how often should however much of it be used in tournaments? Or maybe the line in the sand can be more of a time-based thing. Like whenever the next thing comes out, should there be a 1-year moratorium on it in tournaments just to study it and maybe take some of the emotion out of it? Even the ponies are thinking about it. Okay, on the flip side, you probably know that a bunch of tour pros chose to fish the no forward-facing sonar NPFL this season. And so far, all 3 NPFL tournaments were won by some of those tour pros. There's your finely honed non-forward-facing sonar instincts, man. All right, that's all I got for you this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Seafoam and Kistler. I'll see you next week. God bless you.